3.
All right, welcome in, everybody. We're doing a combo episode as Monday Night Football just finished up. Brandon McManus just snap hooked his 64-yard field goal attempt, and the Philadelphia Eagles take down the Green Bay Packers. Anthony Moeglin here, joined by my partners Jon Conahan and Andrew Kulha. This is the first time that we've done this. Andrew represents the PackersRoundtable page. Jon represents the EaglesRoundtable page, and I am just lucky enough to be with these two guys. Jon, we're starting with you, man. You get a nice, hard-fought win. The birds are soaring. They're flying high. Not really. They're flying after a 10-7 victory in Lambeau.
Yeah, it's a win against a good team, but I wouldn't really I'm not too excited about it, if that makes sense. There really wasn't much to be happy with. If we're going to go off, one positive, I thought Jalen Phillips played pretty good in his first game. He had some, big plays in the run and things like that. I know no sacks or anything, but he looked like he knew the defense already, so that was a positive. And I guess I'll kind of take it a step further, but I think the NFC East is done too at this point. I don't really know. I don't trust the Packer or the Cowboys. Sorry to really, the Eagles are 7-2. At worst, you probably finished with 10 wins right now. I don't see any team getting there, especially with
Let us be the first. Let us be the first to congratulate the Birds on the NFC Championship. Andrew, a smile or no? Can we get a little grin or? Okay, there we go. All right. At least we got a little bit of that. We got a little heartbeat over on the far right. The Packers. Oh, dude. The Packers. They let one get away from them tonight.
I'm gonna already take exception to what Jon said. I don't think you beat a good team, bro. You beat a team that sucks, bro. They suck. And credit to the defense, because the defense does not suck. Okay, they've got a really good defense coordinator in Jeff Hafley. I think the defense played their asses off against what is a pretty good offense in Philly, but I've already ranted about this too much, but whatever. I'm just going to keep going at it. Matt LaFleur, man, he does not deserve to be the head football coach of this team anymore, man. He can't get him up to play a bad team. No longer can he get him up to play a good team. He's supposedly this offensive genius, but 7 points at home, bro, on Monday Night Football, that's some fraud stuff. Matt LaFraud is his new name, man, because that's unacceptable in the NFL. I could take the high school team down the street and score more than 7 points on Monday Night Football.
Matt LaFraud, I think you just found the title of your post game piece today. Andrew, we're gonna stick with you real quick because leading into this game, there was an obvious concern, right? You lose Tucker Kraft to the ACL injury last week, and that was a big deal. That was a very big deal, and we were curious to see how the Packers would respond to that. And largely, we were curious to see what Matt LaFleur, the offensive genius, as you've already stated, was going to dial up. Josh Jacobs has a decent night, 74 yards on 21 carries, just 3.5 yards a pop. He does find pay dirt one time, but that passing attack, man, left a lot to be desired. Christian Watson leads the way, 2 catches for 45 yards. Trevion Winks gets 4 catches for 38. And then Jacobs out of the backfield. He's your leading pass catcher, 5 catches for 33 yards. It's hard to win in this league not being able to pass the football. And obviously, like the Eagles do have a really good defense. But, kind of to your point, man, like, is this a sign that, maybe too much of this offense was revolved around Tucker Kraft and they don't have the dudes to adjust after it?
No. You see the thing, Anthony, and I'm so angry right now, so I'm trying to keep myself together here.
Don't keep yourself together. Let it rip, dude.
Let's not act like LaFleur was getting Tucker Kraft the ball 10 times a game, because that was also a problem too. He had an elite offensive weapon, and he could not scheme that guy up for more than 6 targets a game. Mm-hmm. So this has nothing to do, ultimately, I don't think, with Jordan Love, with Josh Jacobs. You put the players out there. The fact of the matter is, I don't think he had a plan. I don't think Matt LaFleur had a legitimate plan on how are we going to attack the Eagles. I think there's something in there about ball control, But if you know that the Eagles are also going to play ball control, and your defense is also the type that is gonna, just keep everything in front of them, that's already a losing plan going into the game. So to come away with 7 points, man, that's just unbelievable to me. When you have a quarterback who, by all accounts, should be a top 10, top 15 guy. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think the offensive line did a great job of protecting him. And John, credit to your Eagles, they did a great job of getting after the quarterback. I have newfound respect for that defense because, damn, they are good. But at the end of the day, as much as this is a win for the Eagles, and congrats to you guys, I think really what we saw was the beginning of the end of the Matt LaFleur era in Green Bay. When we look back, when this guy is fired, when he should be fired, we're going to look at this game and especially the game before the Panthers game and say this is where the wheels came off.
Yeah, Andrew, there's in my playing days, our coaches used to say success and failure has clues. Both of them have clues, right? Yep. Good teams do good things all the time. Bad teams do bad things all of the time, and you're seeing now there's some repeated stuff that's happening in Green Bay that's popping up week after week. Andrew, I'm going to give you a breath here. Go get a drink of water. Try to think of something. Try to think of something positive because we're going to
check my blood pressure, bro.
Yeah, check your blood pressure. Make sure we're good. Catch your breath here for a second, John. Eagles up front are awesome. And teams are trying to, they've, I guess, broken the mold, if you will, in the past half decade of, hey, we're going to build this team out of stout offensive line and a stout defensive line. And tonight was just another, I guess, notch in the belt that's a winning formula because they dominated the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. And I think the defensive side is, even more important. I know, the Eagles offense is good, but I think if you're going to go back to back as Philadelphia, it's going to have to start on the defensive side. And I know they need an edge rusher. You go out and get Phillips. I think some other guys look good. But also kind of to Andrew's point, and that's why going into the game, I was kind of conflicted on which side I was on. I thought the Eagles are the better team. But like you look at Jordan Love and I think more importantly, kind of, excuse me, Matt LaFleur, like with Love against the Steelers, it just seemed like LaFleur let him just go out and do his thing. And the dude throws for like 360 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the week before against the Cardinals, he looks pretty good. And then now the last 2 weeks at home, it's kind of like the play calling just changes. And I honestly think that has more of an impact really on what the Packers looked like against the Eagles defense tonight than maybe anything else. I always kind of question, and I've questioned him for probably like 2-3 years now, really since Love has taken over, because there's moments where he looks really good, and then there's moments where he just kind of looks bad. And tonight was one of those days, but like you look at the play calling, and it just seems like he doesn't trust him as much as he probably should.
You two are a match made in heaven. Andrew, the floor is yours.
I've always been a Jordan Love guy, okay? And I think, and Anthony, we've talked about this at times. I feel like the Packers did a good job of putting the succession plan in place and we've talked about it from Favre to Rodgers, from Rodgers to Love. Okay, so at least they have a franchise quarterback. Now the question is, franchise quarterbacks come in all shapes and sizes, and there's a big difference between a franchise quarterback like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes and a franchise quarterback like Baker Mayfield, let's say, or Dak Prescott, right? I think what we're seeing right now, and maybe I'm wrong. Anthony, you can get after me about this.
That was a Baker thing. That's a song for another time.
We'll get into it. I think what we're seeing right now is he's probably more of the type of quarterback who needs the pieces around him to step up than the type of quarterback who can take lesser and elevate. And that's not a bad thing. You can win a Super Bowl with that kind of quarterback, especially if you have an elite defense, which I think the Packers have tried to piece together. It's just that right now there's the players around him also aren't stepping up, and it doesn't help that Tucker Kraft is hurt and Matthew Golden's hurt. And at the end of the day, it still comes down to coaching, though, because John, like you said, LaFleur he's conservative, yet at the same time he goes for it on 4th and 9 when your defense is playing great. Like, what are we doing, man? Pick a lane. Yeah. And I think that lack of identity, which is probably the best way to describe this offense right now, they don't have a lack of identity, and that's a killer because if you don't know who you are, you're already dead in the water in the NFL.
Which it's shocking, right? Because Andrew, this isn't a team that, this isn't Matt LaFleur's first year, and this isn't Jordan Love's first year. Like, they should have an identity established. And believe it or not, folks who are listening to this show on the Eagles channel, the Packers channel, we didn't prep Jon with that point. Like, it's something, Jon, we talk about every week. Like, there are stretches in football games, not even week by week, like, and not even quarter by quarter, like play by play, where Jordan Love makes an MVP caliber throw, and then the next snap does something that's like, my high school quarterback wouldn't do that. And like when you're playing and the Browns are a bad example because it came back to bite his ass in Cleveland. But when you're playing a lesser team, you can hide that stuff. When you're playing a good team like the Eagles, man, you make a couple mistakes and they make you pay for it. Jon, we talked about that on our show last week. Like, hey, the Eagles, you mess up one time against the Eagles and it's over, right? It's over with. And a game like tonight, though, like, it was back and forth, but the Eagles did enough to get the job done. Jon, talk about the Eagles offense. I want to make a joke about the tush push that was like the most egregious false start of all time, but I can't find a way to fit it in, so I just jammed it in there. But talk about the offense, what you liked, what you disliked from the Birds tonight.
Yeah, I think in the first two drives, maybe there were two false starts that probably should have been called like back to back, almost, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. I know that was a pretty long and boring game, so my memory might be going off, but I'm pretty sure that happened. The Eagles' offense is kind of like, it is what it is right now. I don't think it's great. Saquon again, 22 carries, 60 yards, only averaged 2.7 per carry, and I mean, that's kudos to the Packers defense at the end of the day, I think. I mean, the Packers defense is that good. I thought Hurts was okay. Again, like we spoke about last week, like he's not really ever he doesn't always do stuff that's going to win you games like all the time, but he also doesn't do anything that ever hurts you. And I think that's kind of the difference between him and a lot of like other quarterbacks in that 7 to 15 range. He's going to make the plays with his legs when he has to. He's going to make take the checkdowns when he has to. Like he just doesn't ever really seem to get over his head, if that makes sense. So I think they did enough, but like I've said before, if the Eagles play offense like this throughout the remainder of the year, it's gonna come back to bite you at some point. And that's obviously been kind of like the one thing, and it was pretty disappointing today, I would say, because the last 2 weeks that they've been kind of rolling offensively, especially Hurts. I think he actually kind of stepped up big time. Saquon, you saw some promising signs from him against the Giants. So I think this was a step back. I know it was cold. I know the weather is, an impact and whatnot. And again, kudos to the Packers defense, but it was kind of a below average performance to me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. But I do think that this was, regardless of, maybe Andrew definitely disagrees with me, but this did feel like two playoff teams that were kind of battling with each other right now. One thing that's really funny that I want to call attention to, the juxtaposition between the first and second quarter. There were 2 possessions in the first quarter. Okay, the Green Bay goes on a 9-play drive for 12 yards, 9 plays for 12 yards, and they punt it away. And then the Eagles go on a 16-play, 77-yard drive that ends in a fumble. That's the only 2 drives in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different drives in the second quarter. None of them lasting longer than there's one that lasted 8 plays, and it was the Packers that ended in a fumble. Boys, this is the drive chart for the game: punt, fumble, punt, 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 fumble, downs, field goal, downs, punt, punt, touchdown, touchdown, punt. Like, holy shit! Were we watching Iowa versus Minnesota in the Big Ten, or what were we watching here?
Yeah,
Jon,
it was that classic Big Ten matchup between Oregon and Iowa.
Yeah, Oregon and Iowa in the rain, in 70-mile-an-hour winds and rain.
Well, that was my question. I wanted to hear from both of you what you thought. Just pulling up ESPN here, they called this game a defensive bout. Okay, and I can see that. But were we looking at 2 good defenses, or was this just a sloppy game? And I think, yes, credit to both units, but there was also just a lot of bad football out there. And Anthony, I think that was kind of your point.
Yeah, in my opinion, man, the truth is somewhere in the middle there. Like, yes, I think both defenses are legit. And I do think the Eagles do have one of the top 5 defenses in all of football, especially. And they're one of those teams that just gets better throughout the season, right? Early on, you may catch them. You may catch them in September. You may catch them in October. But once the rubber starts meeting the road, you get into late November, you get into December, they start turning that shit up. They start turning it up, and really making a big impact. But man, it's hard not to watch what the Packers were on offense, and mostly, Andrew, like you said, I think it all stems to lack of identity, and I think you nailed it right on the head. Like, it wasn't that they were playing overly bad football. It's just like they didn't know what they were doing, and it's just kind of like it's almost like he held up his play sheet. He just had his play sheet in front of him and closed his eyes and then just picked one and then just went, and then there was no rhythm to anything at all.
I mean, I feel like that commercial with Dan Campbell at Chili's, that play sheet that he had there probably has better plays on it than whatever LaFleur's got going on his play sheet right now. So,
Andrew, I kind of got one for you, and
yeah.
I mean it respectfully, obviously, but
sure.
You look at the NFC North right now. 2 teams are 6-3, and I'm not going to say this. I'm a Bucs fan, so maybe I have some hatred towards Chicago, but I never trust the Bears, and I'm just being honest here for a second. But do you kind of look at last week against the Panthers with a loss, and then you come into this one almost needing a win, or do you think they can afford to drop games like this because now they're 1.5 back with the tie? It's kind of a weird spot, especially with Detroit, because they've been winning games, so you got to give them credit, I guess.
Well, this dropped them to 3rd in the NFC North, and right now I don't think this is a team that can make the wild card. Now, I think a lot can change. Of course, the NFL is week to week, and I think myself and I know Evan, who is another one of our Packers guys. Sometimes we get a little bit caught up in the week to week, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to look at the big picture. Big picture, the Packers are still 5-3-1. Okay, they've got which better be a winnable game against the Giants, and then you're looking at a stretch: Vikings, Lions, Bears, Broncos, and that Lions game is Thanksgiving. I think we'll know whether or not this team is for real in terms of can they be at least a playoff contender by how they respond against the Giants. Go on the road. I think the Giants have a little bit of juice. They might be, and by juice, I mean they just fired their head coach, so they might kind of get that so-called dead cat bounce where they play good for the interim coach. If Matt LaFleur has lost his team, we'll find out against the Giants, and so I want to see if they can get back on the schneid there on the road. At a noon game. Anthony, we've talked about this. It's not a sexy game, noon in the Meadowlands against a bad Giants team. That if we're following the trends, that's a game that this team is going to lose.
It's a trap game almost.
Yeah, I'd like to see him bounce back.
No Jackson Dart too right now. That'll be a really bad loss. But you are right with the interim head coach stuff too, especially these guys play up sometimes.
Yeah, I'd like to see him bounce back there, and we'll just take it a game at a time from there. But that stretch of Vikings, Lions, Bears last year, the Packers, I think they won 1 game against the NFC North last year, and it's a tough division, man. You can't be winning 1 or 2 games and expect to actually be something in this league. So,
it's funny. I'm looking at the playoff standings right now, and that tie is going to come into play in a major way, Andrew, because even right now the Packers have the 7th seed. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in, and the 49ers behind them are 6-4, and the Packers are 5-3-1, and that tie is going to come into effect because the truth of the matter is Green Bay. And we'll get to you in a little bit, John, because you guys are sitting atop the top. But Green Bay really does control their own destiny, right? Because they're ahead of San Fran, they're ahead of Carolina, who they lost to, but you're still pacing ahead of them, so you still can just outpace them. And I think they're a house of cards. They're gonna fall off here in a little bit. But Minnesota's behind you, and Dallas is 3 spots behind you at 3-5-1. So it's that's kind of the group you're competing with, and the teams that you're gonna get Minnesota one more time. Or twice. We have Minnesota twice left. They play, yeah.
Minnesota twice, the Bears twice, and the Lions one more time.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, okay. Even in the last 20 minutes, we've turned you from world's on fire to, hey, there's a chance. We still got a chance, Andrew. You still got to believe, brother. Come on, we can't give up too quickly.
Yes, there's a chance, and that's why we love the NFL, especially with kind of the expanded playoff that they ended up doing with that extra wild card. Yes, there's a chance, but I do not believe in this head coach anymore. Sure. In order to have a chance, you have to go out there and win the games that you should win. They can't do that, right? Yeah. Which is why I'm be holding my breath at the Giants, who just fired their head coach, bro.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here ultimately? Nothing. Yeah. What we're talking about is maybe they sneak in, and I imagine the Lions are just going to shove it on Thanksgiving.
That's a good point. Oh my God, oh my God,
that's just how they do things. And credit to Dan.
I'm putting a pin in that. We're coming back to that because we got to get to Jon.
Let's go to quick. Jon. Just Jon.
We got to get Andrew off the hot seat because Jon's Eagles are sitting nice and pretty atop the NFC, 7-2. Currently have the tiebreaker over Seattle. There's a big explanation why, but they're the 1 seed right now. Jon, looking at this team, looking at this schedule, they've done it in their own Eagles way, but here they are at the top of the conference again. We're going to find out what the Lane Johnson injury is, how serious that is, and how much of an impact that'll play. But it's got to feel pretty good in Birdland right now.
Yeah, like you said with Lane, obviously that's like maybe one of the bigger pieces on the team, so that could be significant. But as I kind of look at the Eagles' schedule, I think like I said, I think that division's done, but mostly based off just the Commanders.
Let us be the first to crown you, brother.
Yeah, the Commanders' injuries. The Cowboys, we kind of know what they are at this point. Yeah, and the Giants look like they're a little all over the place. But I also think similar ways to the Packers, you'll really kind of see what this Eagles team is over the next month or so. They'll play the Lions next week, Cowboys on the road, which again I know the Cowboys aren't great, but a game in Dallas is still a game in Dallas. End of the day.
Yeah.
Chicago after that. Again, I don't trust them a lot, but they're playing better. Chargers on the road. So you have some tough, like a tough 4-game stretch here coming up. So I think it'll kind of tell you a lot about where the team stands. Obviously they go 3-1 there. You got to feel pretty good about how they look again.
There's no question about it. And they're doing all the right things. Now, the big question, Jon, is are we going to get a vintage A.J. Brown week after 2 catches for, I just had it pulled up, 2 catches for 13 yards. Are we going to get some tweets tonight? Are we getting some cryptic posts tomorrow? What are we getting out of A.J. Brown this week? The Eagles win, but he's only got 2 catches.
Yeah, you'll probably see an Instagram story here and there. I think that's fair to say. You're
going to unfollow Jalen Hurts on everything.
Even if he had 10 catches for 110 yards, and he probably would have still found something to complain about. But no, I like AJ. I obviously have said many times I think he's like really important for this team. But this is I don't want to say a trend, but it's happened like 4 or 5 times this year already, where he's just kind of 2 to 4 catches, maybe 40 yards if he's lucky, and it's just kind of. Again, like it could be, play calling. It could be a heavy run offense, whatever it might be. But then you look at the last 2 weeks where, to me, the Eagles offense has been the best, and he had 121 catches, 4 receptions, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. And then I know they lost that Giants game when he played. He was out the other one, but 6 receptions for 80 yards. I think you have to obviously get him involved a lot more than tonight. But as weird as it might sound, I don't know if you want to do that and then kind of not rely on the run as much as you do, because again, you need Saquon to really get going. I think that's kind of more important in playoff football. He kind of proved that last year, I thought.
Yeah, the AJ Brown one's fascinating because good coaches, regardless of where they are, what they do, you can get a ball to your receiver, right? Yeah. And like AJ Brown feels like a key player where, hey, the engine starts when AJ, when AJ gets going, right? You put him in the ignition, and that's when it starts to roll a little bit. But maybe that's not the case, man. Maybe they are just in better suited right now to not use him as a decoy, but just have him out there. He commands so much damn attention that, it frees up Devontae Smith, 4 for 69 tonight in a TUD. And maybe that's more so the way that their offense is leaning. I totally disagree with that. But like you said, John, this isn't the first time this has happened. Like, this is week after week after week. It's now become the norm. This is the norm. The outlier is 4 for 121 and 2. Like that's kind of the way it is right now.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's kind of concerning in a way that it's the norm. But the harsh reality right now of this season is that's kind of, it's 395 yards. We're going to be in week 11 next week. And I know he's been banged up. He's missed some games, but this is a dude, who put up 1,400 back-to-back years in 22 and 23. And, again, the yards meet everything. Obviously not, you still ultimately have to win the game. But he's literally on, pace for career lows in everything: receptions, yards, touchdowns. Maybe he gets to the 7 that he had in 23, but right now it's not looking like that. And maybe in fairness to him, like I said, he was banged up. Maybe he's still battling something. I don't know. Maybe, he's more of a decoy out there right now, which is smart in some sense. But I don't know. I'm kind of also in the boat now where, if you're the Eagles and, you're sitting pretty playoff wise. I know it's really early, but you're sitting pretty. If he's banged up at all, maybe just sideline him for a little. To me, it's smarter to do that. Again, you are playing the Lions next week, which is kind of a big game because the Lions beat you and then get the tiebreaker. That's something to consider. But if it lingers on any longer throughout the last couple games of the year, I'd probably just keep him out.
You bring up a bunch of really solid points there. There's going to be a lot to unpack in future shows for us because there is going to be a way that they're going to have to handle it if something is up. Andrew, do you think Matt LaFleur would learn would know how to get A.J. Brown the football or no?
No, I don't. I think, John, if you'd like for the Eagles, I could interest you in a couple wide receiver threes. We've got a few of those on the roster and an angry dog over here. Listen,
mine's looking up too now. He's like, we're talking football.
Right. Hey, the pups are playing. The pups are playing. Andrew, go on mute real quick. I got another question for John here, and then we'll get out of here. But John, I want to talk about Saquon just a little bit. 22 carries for 60 yards, 2.7 yards a pop, had a long of 15. So you take that long away, that's 21 carries for 45 yards. That's pretty low. What's kind of the thoughts there? I know they've been trying to force feed Saquon a little bit. It's been really hard to do that. What's kind of the thoughts of the Eagles run game?
See, to me, that's more concerning than the A.J. Brown stuff. And again, Saquon's year last year was not, you can't replicate that. The dude had 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. And maybe he can have the touchdowns again, but the yards situation is just, you don't see many 2,000-yard rushers. But the more concerning part to me is last year he averaged 5.8 yards per carry, and this year's 4.1. And honestly, if you really break down his games outside of the game last 2 weeks ago now against the Giants where he rushed for 150 on 14, you have a lot of really below average, almost not even starter caliber games. Vikings 18 for 44, Giants 12 for 58, Broncos 6 for 30, Buccaneers 19 for 43. I know we just said this is kind of the norm for AJ, but maybe it's the norm for Saquon too at this point. And I it's funny, I believe it was the Super Bowl week last year, and the Chiefs kind of, I don't want to say bottled him up, but he wasn't great. I don't think he scored a touchdown that game, and that stretch kind of continued here for a bit. I don't know. I know he's had, now that's 5 games this year without a touchdown, and it's just kind of weird. And for that Brown point too, with Saquon, to me, if Saquon is ready to go and he's 5.8 yards per carry in a game on 20 touches, it just opens up everything else for the offense. And I guess in a way similar to Jordan Love, I think you need the guys around him to kind of be those dudes. It's not a knock on Hurts. It's just reality unless you're maybe Patrick Mahomes and Lamar and guys like that. And even those guys have all good run games, so I'm not going to sit here and –
There's maybe 3 quarterbacks who can win on their own in this league,
and that's even putting it nicely, because if the other guys really don't show up, we've seen – I think it was Super Bowl 2 or 3 years ago, Mahomes was just getting ran after every play, offensive line just couldn't keep up. You're not going to win these games.
No.
I don't know. Saquon, though, again, I'm not going to sit here and be oh, he's washed. He's 28. He's fine, I think. but it is.
Don't go 28-year-olds are washed, bro. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that.
I'm approaching that, so I can't say it yet.
I'm almost 40. Holy crap!
Yeah, John, you're just a puppy, dude. Like you'll get to 28 one day, and you'll remember this exact comment. Be like, I still got it. Like, hey, I'm telling you, I walk out of that house every day. That wings, I can still throw it.
Hey, before we get going, I want to hear your thoughts on Jalen Phillips, man. That guy was all over the field. And the Eagles are a championship program, man. I mean, to go out at the deadline and bring in a guy like that, the Packers signed a tight end number 4 named like Jaden McAllister or something. Like, I don't know, McCastles. I don't even know who he is. And the Eagles are out here getting a former first rounder who played really well.
Yeah, so I've unfortunately had to watch a lot of Dolphins games in my life because my father's a Dolphins fan. So unfortunately, I've had to watch a lot of bad football for 26 years now. But I will give Jalen Phillips some credit. Outside of the injuries, Jalen Phillips is like the one guy who you can kind of watch each week on the Dolphins. Be like, you know what? He kind of knows what he's doing out there. And I think there was some risk in the deal just because of how bad he's been hurt in the past. But they kind of stole him from the Dolphins, in my opinion. Like, for a championship caliber team to send a 3rd round pick for a dude who can get off the edge like that and even make plays in the run game, it kind of felt like a steal. I'm not gonna lie, but Howie Roseman is just like, I don't want to say he's the best, but I honestly do.
Oh, he's the best. He's a magician, bro.
Like he just kind of works things out,
Freaking Howie, man. Andrew, you said it.
To end on you, Andrew. Sorry, Anthony. Take it. Like, you look at the Packers wide receiver core, especially with the Kraft news, like before the deadline. How do you not go out and at least try to get something wide receiver wise? Again, like Jacoby Myers went for a 4th, and I'm not a big Jacoby Myers fan. I'll be sitting here and lying, say if I was, but he'd be nice for a team like the Packers right now.
I don't know, man. I don't know anything really. I'm trying to survive this week, and if the Packers can beat the Giants, I'll be happy. And we'll take it from there. We'll take
John kicking him when he's down. He's like, I just beat you by 3. You had to watch 7 points of football.
I mean, you guys had an offensive explosion of 10 points. Offensive explosion.
Oh man, that is awesome. Well, that boys, this was a fun time. Andrew, you hang in there, dude. The sun will rise again tomorrow, and the Packers will still be 5-3-1. It's still title town. You're still going to have a chance. John, enjoy the good night of sleep here at 7-2 atop the NFC. And everybody who jumped in and watched, this was a fun show for us. Obviously, a little mashup here. You'll catch it on both sites. You'll catch this on Eagles Roundtable. You'll catch the show on Packers Roundtable. It's a reminder to you, go find us all. I'm on Browns Roundtable. We got them all. Go check us out. The network is growing, and it's going to be something fun. It's something new. It's different than what you get your normal news from. You can interact directly with us. Ask us anything. You can tell me I got a bad haircut. You can tell John, why are you wearing an A's hat? You live in Philly. You can ask all those questions. You got direct access to all of us. So highly encourage you all to get over to our sites, follow along, follow each one of us, and continue to grow it. So, boys, we're getting out of here on this. For my guys, Andrew Kulha, Jon Conahan, I'm Anthony Moeglin. Thanks for hanging out with us on whether it's Eagles Roundtable or Packers Roundtable. We appreciate it and hope you all have a great night.
Yes, sir. Thanks, everyone.